Hello, everyone. I'm Kip Snow. I'm the director of the Transportation Distribution and Logistics Institute at the Community College of Baltimore County. We have Mike here. Hey, Mike.
Hey Kip, how you doing?
Good.
Hey everybody, I'm Mike Singer, community manager for Baltimore and Chesapeake Bay Shipwatchers. We are a local maritime advocacy group who help to promote and support all things to do with the Port of Baltimore. And so now we have this podcast with Kip. So you're watching this on YouTube. If you're give us a like, hit subscribe, and then hit the bell to be sure of where
Wherever it is on the
well
screen.
and hit the bell to be alerted to new podcasts as they come up and available.
We're trying to do these podcasts about once a week.
Mm-hmm.
Right now we're as long as there aren't any issues on Thursday evenings, that's where we're getting the recordings done, and then we've got to do the edits. So on the back half of the week or the first of the weekend, you should be able to see it. So that's kind of the schedule with how we've been able
Yeah, somewhere in there. Yep.
ships. We got a pretty packed podcast today. We
Mm-hmm.
do have a special guest coming in, but before we get into our special guest, Mike, do you want to bring us up on the ship spotting for this week?
Sure. So there will be 10 container ships in next week.
Wow.
Exactly. So if you're not following, if you're not like really paying attention, to me this is a really significant milestone because for the last 2 weeks there's only been three container ships a week. They've been really slow to come back. I imagine for logistical reasons.
Yeah,
And
actually, let me jump in with that. I heard an interview this week with and it was a video news report, and it was official from the port, and I forget who exactly it was, if it was a Ports America Chesapeake rep or if it was an MPA rep, but they were stating that we are starting to see some of these ships trickle in, some of the
Mhm,
container ships trickle in. They are
mhm,
slower because in certain instances where routes were changed uh, right when the bridge collapsed,
right.
that these companies that were contracting some of these ships and having their container contracts put in place, they actually
Mhm.
had to set up new temporary agreements to go and bring those containers into other ports.
Yeah,
And
and I think
so,
we had kind of talked about that a little bit
yeah,
two
exactly.
podcasts ago.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're seeing now, is that it's not
Wow.
just okay, bring the ships back. They're not just anchored down, further in the bay. It's we have to really go back to the original routing structures or the routing agreements that existed
Hmm.
prior to the bridge collapse. And if those
Hmm.
companies who had freight coming in, they may have had to put a temporary contract in other ports, and they got to finish that contract out before they can bring that cargo back into our port, which is probably more efficient or cheaper or what have you. So,
Right.
and so that's where what you're starting to see with some of that traffic coming in.
Right. And this is just conjecture on my part because I really don't know how this works. But I was also thinking, who knows how these things are loaded, right? Because you've got empty containers in there, you've got full containers. Yeah, I like to equate it to a UPS truck or Amazon truck. It might not be synonymous, but so you're loading for all these different locations. You've got full and empty. You've got weight and balance. And now, if you want to add Baltimore back into the route, how far back do you have to reorganize how the ship is loaded? Because now you're going to Baltimore when you were skipping Baltimore for the last almost 3 months. I don't know if that,
That
I'm just
that
guessing.
that's pretty close. I mean, actually, they do know what containers are in what positions
Right. It's
when
all planned out.
when a manifest is created, or there's a commercial invoice that specifies exactly what's in the container. They know
Hmm.
what's on that. Well, they're supposed to know if you're doing everything legally. They know what is everything that's on the ship. Okay.
So what are you
Uh,
trying to say, Kim?
no, there are people.
Yeah,
This is
stuff
another
happens.
podcast, but
Yes.
there are security related issues.
Yes.
But they know exactly what's on, and they even not only do they place the containers in conjunction to for the safety or to keep the ship afloat. Everything's got to be balanced, but
Mm-hmm.
it's also in line with what ports of call they're going to, and so that they're max or minimizing the number of moves that a crane has
Right.
to move. And so you're correct in that thought process, is that there's a lot that goes into how you actually pack a ship.
Yeah, you don't want to be in whatever it is, cell 13 or row 13, and oh, we've got all this Savannah stuff we've got to pull out, set it
Mm-hmm.
on the dock in order to get the Baltimore stuff off the bottom. I'm sure
Right.
they planned it out way better than that. Next week, also, if you look at the schedule, so BaltimoreShipwatchers.com, go to shipping links. It's the third or fourth one down. It's called Container Schedule. So you can go look at it yourself. Next week, there will only be one day with no
Mm.
container ships on the schedule. So
Wow.
that's pretty awesome.
Okay.
And the Ever Forever 12,000 TEU capacity, it,
Wait.
you know,
Ever forever? Where have we heard that? Have we heard something like that before?
yeah, the Ever Forward.
These are all evergreen named ships.
Yes. So the way Evergreen does their classes of ships are done by the first letter. So the F class, uh, forward forever, and so everybody in the F class has an F
Hmm.
name, and they're all sister ships. So that's the way, and everybody does a little different. So that's supposed to come in to be here on Tuesday and Wednesday. And if you're looking at the live stream, there will be a big green wall there at Seagirt. It's a huge ship.
All
It's
right.
not the
So
biggest. It's not even close to the biggest anymore. I mean, if you look at the top 10, and we can go into that, but yeah. So excited to see one of the larger container ships coming in, and she's bigger than the Dolly.
okay.
So if you've been watching the live stream and you've been seeing the few ships kind of trickle in, and they're all smaller than a Dolly, well, tune in on Tuesday
So
because
so Tuesday is going to be a big day for the live stream for everybody.
I I would think so. Now it might be coming in under the cover of darkness, but when you wake up Tuesday morning, it'll be here, and then
Okay.
hopefully we'll be able to see it go out. Yeah, so to me, this really signifies a turnaround for Seagirt and everybody that works there, and then like we talked about last week, and all the port people that you know feeds. 30 guys per crane, right? All the
Mhm.
trucker, all the people that move the containers within the terminal, all the truckers that come to drop off and pick up containers, the warehousing,
The
all of it.
the other component, and I'll give Andy Nixon credit from Ruckert Terminals on this. When we would do terminal tours, he would talk about the direct and the indirect jobs. So for every person that comes to work at the port, they have to buy groceries, they have to go to the bank, they have to go to the doctor. That income gets divvied up against all of those other activities.
Mm-hmm.
uh, the indirect jobs, so even those businesses that operate in and around and close to the port who do not have a maritime connection are going to benefit from the terminal operating, because we have all these people going back to work. They're all getting paid. They're all getting back into their
Contributing to the
normal.
economy and the tax base, and
So it's important to not only identify to it's, especially important to talk about the direct jobs, but we also have to make sure we cover all of the indirect jobs.
right. And one example that I had is when NASA shut down the space shuttle program, right? And then
Mhm.
so if you're down near Cocoa Beach, that's where a lot of temporary
Mhm.
workers went
Yeah.
because it was right on the coast. It's quote unquote, right up the street. And so, I don't know, 6 months to a year later, when I forget what the numbers are, 900 or 1,500 people are out of a job, and you're driving down Cocoa Beach and you see all these businesses boarded up because you didn't have all these people living or renting or, going to work from that location all the time. They all had to find other jobs or other places to live, and just really affected the economy down
Yep. You're absolutely correct.
Let's see what else we got. So some big channel news, as far as the shipping channel is concerned. And so, we've been watching this on the live stream. There was that chunk of truss that was kind of in the opposite side of the channel from where the ships were running. And so you can watch them kind of cut it up and pull it out. And each piece took 2 and 3 days. Because they've got to cut it, and then it's connected to something underneath, and I don't know if there's divers under there, and it's a long process, and it looks like nothing's happening until, oh my God, they've got this thing on a 1,000-ton crane and it's moving. Yeah. Well, these 2 giant pieces, and they moved the second piece, and it came out that was the final large truss section had been removed. The final one out of the channel. I couldn't believe it. I was kind of surprised. I thought, and there's more down there that they have to dig out.
Right.
But when you're talking about a large assembled chunk of a bridge truss structure, that was the latest one. And so and I know they adjusted the dates, but and we know they said June 8th through the 10th, but to think that, okay, it's not a week from now, it's not 10 days from now, the reality of the full shipping channel being open the way it was in early March is only a couple of days away. Just amazing accomplishment, I think.
Right. I fully agree with that. And even they're still continuing to clean up. There's still going to be more work. It's not just done just because that one truss is finally removed, and the state is already moving forward with the RFP and procurement process for the new bridge. So we're moving forward.
Now I heard, but you don't remember when that's due, do you?
No, it's pretty. It's month? Actually. Yeah, I'm surprised it's as short as it is, but it's just a couple of weeks. I don't remember the exact date.
I can't recall either. So once they clear that channel out and allow everything to come and go the way it used to, outside of that, the other parts of the bridge that collapsed, there's still stuff in the water there. And so they're going to be pulling all that metal out. Yeah. In one case, you can kind of see this picture behind me, like this section from here to here, and it was sitting in the water, but it was only in about 10 or 15 feet of water. Mm-hmm. So they came along and cut it in half right above the water line and just pulled out easy what they could get out. And I know they have to go back and get everything out later on. I guess they'll do that once they're done with the channel and the channel's
open. Okay. Yeah, that is all big news that's happened this week.
Yeah. Great news. It'll be fantastic and amazing once, it's happened.
Sure. Yeah. All right. We're going to do something new here. I'm pretty excited about this. We have we're going to try to do some different things, maybe some on-site and site visits and things like that. But we also, with this podcast, are wanting to do some special guests or guest speakers to join us on this. So we have a special guest today. All right, so we have a special guest today, Mike. You wanna handle this interview for us today? I
think I will. So with us today, our very first guest on the podcast, Reverend Josh from the Baltimore International Seafarer Center. Woo!
Thank y'all for having me.
No
You're
problem.
welcome. You're welcome.
This is low budget. We have to make our own sound effects.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't even know where the files are yet, much less paying people. So hey, glad you can make it. Can you just like what is your official title at the Seafarer Center? What?
So, on paper, I am the Reverend Joshua Messick. I'm a priest in the Episcopal Church, executive director of the Baltimore International Seafarers Center, port chaplain for the Port of Baltimore, and
Wow,
many other things.
sounds yeah, many other hats which don't actually fit on the screen at
No,
this
that's
time.
true.
So, and you're calling from out of state, right?
I am. We're visiting my wife's family in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Tried calling in from
Wow.
a pontoon boat on Lake Hamilton, and that did not go well. So here we are.
So, Kip, what this says to me is that you and I have been working our tails off on this podcast. This is for the 6th week. Josh is basically on vacation, and he's more dedicated to this podcast than you and I have been so far. Now, what does that say about us?
I don't know. We're being shown up by our first guest.
I know, right? It's just
6 weeks is something, though. 6 weeks is pretty good.
Yeah. It's getting a lot better. I think we're getting better at it. So hey, I wanted to ask you, can you give us an overview of what the Seafarer Center like regularly provides the ship crews that come to town?
So what we do is I've got a staff and volunteers. We try to visit as many ships as we can that call on the port. That can be as many as 10 a day on a busy day.
Wow.
But we visit as many as we can, and just let the seafarers know that we're there. Typically, we provide transportation ashore. We've got a fleet of passenger vans. We can give them rides to Walmart or the mall, wherever they need to go to get the things that they need. The religious side is kind of secondary to that, unless you ask some of my more religious staff members, then they'll say no, that's what we do. But we offer that on an as-needed basis, or as requested basis. So that's typically when there's a death on board. If a seafarer dies at sea, the crew will typically ask for a service on board.
Gosh,
but
I can't imagine.
Yeah, well, thankfully it doesn't happen too often. But primarily, we go on. We offer transportation. We can accept packages on behalf of crew members and deliver them to the ship when they arrive. We can really look for red flags on board. That's one of the most important things I think we do is we are often one of the first entities on board, so we can see if something's not quite right, if they don't have adequate or acceptable provisions, if their pay is incorrect, if there are safety issues, if something is off. We're more likely to see it or be told about it by a crew member than somebody in a more official capacity, so we can alert the appropriate people if there's something wrong.
I was going to ask what capabilities do you have to go and help fix the, because I know that maybe sometimes there's sensitivity with providing information,
right?
But if somebody has a particular need, I'm assuming you guys have those channels to be able to provide that level of support.
That's right. If it's something that I can deal with on my own, I try that first. So, for example, if a crew is made up of Italian officers and Filipino ratings, the officers are the ones that decide what provisions to get, and they usually just get pasta. And so the Filipinos go, "Where's the rice?" And the Maritime Labor Convention of 2006 says they have to make at least some effort to provide for the cultural needs of the crew members. So I can go to the officers and say, you might want to do something about this. An inspector could come on board. And that's a nice way of saying, if you don't do something about this, I'm going to let an inspector know that they should probably come on board.
Sure.
So I can call the ITF inspector for big issues. If crew aren't being repatriated, if they have been on board long past their contracts, If there are huge things going on, I can contact Coast Guard, or folks higher up the chain to say there's some
Wow.
issues here.
Wow,
Wow.
it's interesting.
It
Yeah.
is very interesting. So I know things must be different, you know, in the time, last couple of months because of the accident. Can you just give us like a couple of ways that things have changed for you and your organization?
Certainly.
Because
So,
the port's
uh,
closed and
yeah. So when the bridge collapsed, there were 8 vessels stuck, including the Dolly. Typically, vessels are in and out a couple of days. For the sugar ships at Domino, a couple of weeks, but that's unusual.
Mm.
Ships are in and out as fast as they can be. So we see a crew, we're there with them briefly, and then they're gone. Occasionally, they'll come back for our regular vessels, but to have the same crews stuck there for such a long time changed the way that we provided service during the period that the bridge was down. So we were there for the same crews in and out, and we had um, some more kind of, I won't say human rights issues, but labor issues come up. There,
Mhm.
as time went on, their shore passes expired. So those that had shore passes couldn't get off after 29 days. Some
Mm.
crews, no one had shore passes because they didn't have visas, or they were um, part of from a national from a country that we don't have great relationships with, like mainland China. So we were there for them every day. We built great relationships with those crews. We fought for them as best we could when things started to decline in terms of shore leave, and it was a good opportunity to be able to spend quality time with seafarers, and so I'm really appreciative of that. Uh,
Hmm.
it was a good opportunity for us to shed light on um, the risk that seafarers take to make our lives go. Um,
yeah, like I say, the people who bring everything in and take everything out. The
right.
ship can't run by itself, and if it wasn't for them, so all the stuff that we buy and use and whatever, um, and so who's going to take care of them? So,
They
but
move
I,
the
but I,
world. They really do.
yeah,
They move the world.
yeah. But I
So
guess it was kind of a learning experience for you guys too, because and this isn't something that I wrote down beforehand, but I just came up with this. You're used to in and out and in and out, right? And you handle that a certain way, and now all of a sudden you're talking to the same people for 2 months.
I
well,
would
and
imagine that there is nothing in your operations manual that says when a ship crashes into a bridge, this is what you're supposed to do.
Yeah,
no,
isn't that in like Appendix B or something?
I think so. I think I learned it in seminary, but it was one of those obscure courses I didn't really get credit for. So
Oh,
anyway, Kip,
96.
you know all about that. So, um, but it was unique. I woke up that morning to messages from my colleagues all over the world, Australia, New Zealand, the Middle East, Korea. Um, I had a phone call coming in from Montreal when I woke up.
Wow.
So my colleagues were there saying, "What can we do?" And I said, "I
Wow.
just woke up." So I
I don't know. I
and then
just
I saw
woke
the
up.
video, and so we did. We had to adapt as the port as a whole did. We all had to figure it out. Um,
Mhm.
what One thing that we do to support our efforts is send voluntary invoices to the ship's agents that we visit, people that manage the ships, and some of if we provide a reasonable service, we'll send an invoice saying, if you would like to support us, here's what we did. We'd appreciate
Mhm.
your support. Some say, great, we're here for you always. Some say, don't send us an invoice at all. We're not going to do anything. And so, but it's a big part of keeping our vans going. and making sure we can still go, and not having the in and out of ships meant that we couldn't do that anymore.
Well,
So
let me ask a quick question then
yeah.
based on it. And I know this is kind of a quick audible. Then you guys don't then charge that this isn't a contractual agreement. You guys, how are you guys funded, and how do you how do you cover your expenses then?
So that voluntary invoicing is a part of it. That we rely on donations as a huge part of what we do, from churches, from individuals. Uh,
Mm.
we uh, we have an international affiliate. We're part of Mission to Seafarers, which is based in London. They send us a grant annually, and are absolutely wonderful. It's a great community to be a part of, and I work for them here in Baltimore, but also in Canada. I'm on the board for Mission to Seafarers Canada. I help the regional director out there. I might possibly, after today, be the interim regional director for Mission to Seafarers Canada. And I'm working to help get the United States set up as a region also, with getting centers and chaplaincy started on the West Coast, the Gulf Coast. So,
Cool.
yeah, it's a big thing, big group of people that make it all
Wow.
happen.
And you think about, people who don't really know about the port. They might see a ship, or
Right.
they really don't think about everything that goes on at the port. And
Right.
then you think about, so they certainly don't know about what you're doing.
Yeah,
That,
that's true.
I mean, that must make it hard for fundraising at times. Um,
Yeah.
so, so you mentioned vans. So real quickly, so how many vehicles and how many volunteers? How big is this thing?
So I'm the only full time staff member. We have uh, three hourly uh, staff, two ship visitors, one treasurer that makes sure we don't go broke. Then
Where's that?
we have we partner with Seafarers International House in New York. It's a Lutheran group. They gift us a chaplain because that's how their model works. They don't uh, have centers set up. They have chaplains that they fund, and they distribute them throughout the port welfare communities. So I've got a Ukrainian chaplain that is paid for by Seafarers International House that works for me. Um, Very hard to understand, but he does a great job. And then
Awesome.
I've got uh, maybe eight uh, regular good volunteers that come in a day or two a week, and absolutely we could not do it without them.
Wow, that's awesome. I know, this age of social media, and I know people have a concern for their fellow man because people just have so many questions about the crew of the Dolly.
Right.
Can you just talk a little bit about maybe what it was like while they were out there stuck in the middle of the harbor? Or
Yeah. So they have been on board the ship this whole time. Um, I had an opportunity to go out and visit them while they were um, still stuck under the bridge, but scheduling didn't work out. It was hard to get permission uh, and find the right slot of time to get out there. So I actually was not able to visit them until they were back alongside at Seagirt Marine Terminal.
mm,
While they were out there, the company Synergy that owns operates the vessel, um, they, for lack of better term, owns and operates. They made sure they had everything they needed food wise. The crew complied with all of the investigations, everything that happened on board. They were there doing what they could, maintaining the vessel, um, and just holding fast. Now that they're back alongside Seagirt, I've been out several times. Uh, they are anxious about their future right now. They're anxious to get off the ship because the ship looks huge, but the area the seafarers live in is not huge. It's it's cramped, as you can imagine, and there's 24 guys on board in this kind of small space. You got to imagine you kind of get tired of seeing the same people all the time. You know, if somebody thinks sneezing really loud is funny and looks around for affirmation every time they do that, that's going to get old. And so, you know, there's always you can only deal with the same people for so long before you go, good Lord. And it's true they're on the
Yeah.
ship together all this length of time, but typically they have a chance to get off at each port and get away from the vessel, get away from their shipmates and recharge, see different faces, be somewhere new. And these guys
There's
haven't
some
had that.
variation in their routine, right? If
Right.
you're just not, and you're actually, I would imagine when you're sailing and going from port to port, there's a lot more to do. I mean, obviously you
That's
have to
it.
keep the ship running and the generators and everything, right? But I
Yeah.
imagine when you're going from port to port, you have a lot more to do, and
Yes.
it's much more varied. And so when you're stuck in one place, I mean, as all humans, I would probably get to you after a while.
Well, and the captain said to me, uh, when they are at sea, they have a routine. They know what they're doing. You know, they have work to do. They're busy, and now um, he's they're so anxious because there's so many people on board that all are demanding something, and
Oh,
there's no routine. He's never sure when he's going to eat or what if he's going to be able to sit down for a meal during the day. It's really
wow.
upsetting. The FBI confiscated their cell phones, as I've said in several different outlets, and I got
I have
confirmation
heard that.
today. Yeah, so today the captain said they still haven't gotten any of those back. I've worked with the four unions involved to get funds to uh, put towards new cell phones for the crew. So each crew member got $300 to put towards a new phone, but they still don't have their data, which is making things complicated. Their
Hmm.
banking, in particular, at home is has been disrupted.
Mm.
One officer said he's got to pay his child's college tuition. He owes a considerable amount of money, and it's got to be paid soon. So because they can't access their banking, they can't do any of that. So
Because they
they're
did everything on their phone, and right,
that's
and,
it. We're all so used
and
to having our passwords saved, having our contacts
yeah,
saved,
exactly. If I look
having
at my
everything there.
phone, yeah, and I mean, okay, and so right,
Yeah.
and then I go to
Are you
this,
calling me right
one
now?
app. Yeah, I should call
But yeah. So
them.
all that's gone,
Wow.
and they're waiting. So I'm
Hmm.
working with the crew to. I've been trying to plan shore leave for them, but all requests have been denied so far. I'm
Hmm.
working with the civil lawyer for the crew to try to uh, have have an event at his house to say, look, they're going to visit their lawyer. Can we do something to take them to the lawyer's house? It's there's so
Yeah,
many moving parts, and it's been
that's interesting because when we
yeah,
look at it, it just looks like it's sitting there, right?
right.
So the fact that you're telling us that there's all this stuff going on in the background, like I said about the port earlier, people don't know about that stuff. It's
That's right.
there's,
interesting.
there's there's so much more to it than just the face value or what the general public may see
Mm.
or may be thinking what might be happening. There really is a significant amount that is going on.
Right, and
Yeah.
many of the crew. I mean, they're all from India. One from Sri Lanka. They don't know how things work here. They're
Mm.
they don't know what's going to happen. They feel like this is an incredibly serious matter. They know that people died. That weighs on them, but they don't know how they'll be treated moving forward. They don't know if someone or a few will be held responsible, if they'll be arrested, if they'll get to see their families again.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
It's very hard.
I imagine they're
Good.
scared.
They
Very
are.
serious situation. Yeah.
I,
They are.
as an American, if I was stuck in a foreign port that wasn't, I don't know, England or France or Germany, or somebody
Yeah.
you have a really good. I mean, I imagine, and this happened. I imagine I'd be scared too, especially when you can't communicate with your family. And
Right.
I mean,
So
so they have Wi-Fi, so they can email, I guess, but still
correct.
don't have all your.
That's right. They're able. They have enough devices on board that they can share to do email or I guess some people still do Skype. They
Mhm.
can. They just don't. The Wi-Fi we were able to get on board is helpful. We had the Seafarer Center in Tampa send up Wi-Fi hotspots that they had immediately, and we were able to get two on board.
Right.
So they've had that, but it's not quite enough bandwidth for everybody that wants to use it. There's not enough devices for them to all get on when they want to.
Mm.
So that's difficult. One good thing, one light thing, one helpful thing we've been able to do is they are able to stream the World Series cricket tournament that's going on in New York right now. Not sure if that's what it's
Oh,
called. I mean,
huh.
it's going on right now in New York.
A cricket
Yeah,
tournament in New York. I had no idea.
multi-day. On Sunday, we're working with the unions to throw them a watch party. India and Bangladesh. No, forgive me.
Oh, man.
India and Pakistan are playing,
Hmm.
and so that's huge. They're so excited. They want pizzas, so we're going to have pizzas taken out to the ship,
Well,
and they're going to be able to
yeah.
watch the match. So that they're excited about that. That's something to break things up.
Right. Can you imagine, Kip? You and I are on a ship. We're in Bangladesh.
We're stuck and there's a
Right.
Ravens game that we want to watch.
Right.
And
I mean, just kind of flip it around and imagine if it
Yeah.
was us. Oh my gosh. How
it,
excited would we be if we didn't have our phones and we could barely get communication out? And, we had two laptops that 20 of us were sharing, and we barely had Wi-Fi. And oh my God, we're going to be able to watch the first Ravens playoff game, or, whatever,
yeah,
just.
that's it. And thankfully, I am not the only organization that does this sort of thing. We are all over the world. So that the Mission Seafarers has centers in something like 200 countries. So yeah, there are people doing this work everywhere, and it's
Mm,
so good for seafarers to know that they have someone they can rely on. When
nice.
often they go unseen.
Yeah. So how do they? I don't know. I guess there's a whole network. I mean, okay, you're on a ship, you're going to 10 different ports, you come into Baltimore, you've never been here before. I mean, they just Google Baltimore Seafarers and they get lucky. I mean, how do they know,
So
through their agent or something?
the agent can provide information about us.
Mm-hmm.
Agents can do a lot. Not every agent does a lot. So often some will Google. I get we have prominently on our webpage a Seafarer help button. If you have a request, click it, and you can
Hmm.
fill out it sends an email directly to me with what they want. So
Cool.
I can get to them that way. Around the world, that they most seafarers look for what they call Seamen's Club. Look for the Seamen's Club because they know the logo for Mission to Seafarers, the Flying Angel. They'll say, "Oh, you're Flying Angel." So they've got
Wow.
a framework for what to look for. Worst case scenario, they Google it. Best case scenario, someone on board has been before and they've got a sticker on a bulkhead that says, "Call this number, send an email here, go to this website." But every day I get messages, I get emails, I get WhatsApp, I get Facebook Messenger. I all
Wow.
so many different ways that they'll reach out, and they all of those go directly to my phone. So if I can't help right away, I can plug them into someone who can.
Cool. So when you get on board, do you have, I mean, do you have, 20 business cards or stickers or, how do you?
We take them a bag of candy,
Mhm.
chocolate if we got chocolate, baked goods if someone's given us baked goods. We have
Nice.
a sticker with the Flying Angel logo on it, and it says Baltimore International Seafarers Center. It's about yay. Um, that means
Hmm.
nothing because I can move it, whatever. It's a good sized sticker. It's about 4 inches across, and
Yeah.
I it's amazing how many times I go on board and there when you board a vessel, there's a someone on watch by the gang, at the top of the gangway. They have a little station, a little desk, and so many times our stickers right up on that. I go up to the bridge or the ship's office, and there's one stuck on the wall there. They know they can rely on us, and it's they'll call. But so we give them candy, we give them a sticker to post up. Um, our business cards have good information, so I'll toss one of those in. We take them and a ITF magazine, the most current one we have. We got
Hmm.
them in every language you could imagine, so they can look up ITF inspectors all
Wow.
over the world. They can get whatever resources they need. We also take them an
That's cool.
information sheet with all the local contacts they could use, all of the terminal security, local
Mm.
taxis that can actually come to the vessel, um, vendors. We
I
hook them
didn't even
up pretty
think
good.
about that,
Yeah,
So taxis that they can get that have, and I guess they need special permission to get onto each different secured terminal, and so
correct.
that's a thing. I didn't even think of that. I didn't even think about that.
There are maybe two. They're Filipino gentlemen. This is in the Philippines, seafarers are huge. It's
Right.
the
Like
Philippines
you would say
export
that would be what percentage of the seafarers that come to town?
probably 60%
Mm-hmm.
are
Mm-hmm.
Filipino. I've been to Manila and met with seafarers and their families there. It's
Hmm.
it's absolutely the Philippines exports two things really, um, mangoes and people. So medical staff and seafarers I mean, nurses and seafarers are the two biggest things that the
Wow.
Philippines provides. They're required to remit, I believe it's 90% of their income that has to be sent home for seafarers. So
Wow.
that's how the Philippines keeps on um, keeping on the money that Filipino seafarers make overseas. The majority of it has to go back to their families. So that
Required
keeps
by
yeah
the
required.
government?
Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely. I'm pretty sure it's 90%. I could be wrong, but it's close to that anyway. Yeah, well,
Wow.
because the
They're not
idea.
saving up for their favorite sports car and
Well,
wow.
they rely that's something else that we help with because they rely on their families to make good decisions with that income because they can't dictate things from abroad. So many a time a
Yeah.
seafarer will get home and there is no money; it's been spent. So they have to immediately look for another ship to sail
Oh my
on.
God. It's
It,
horrible.
it is, and this is the world they live in. Um,
Lather,
they
rinse, repeat. I mean,
that's it. And uh,
oh,
it's sad
that's
because
when I think I have problems. I mean,
well
really. I mean,
they do it as long as they can, and God help them if they get injured, because then
right.
there is no security net. So
Wow.
yeah, to see what elderly Filipino seafarers live in now, it's heartbreaking. There are agencies there that can help. The Filipino unions are remarkable.
Oh.
They do the best they can,
Hmm.
but it's still tough. Yeah,
Hmm.
going to Manila and seeing the everything from um, the first ship a seafarer goes on, how they get a job to begin with, all the way through pension. It's something, and
Hmm.
and how
Wow.
their families make it while they're gone. Yeah, It was an experience.
I probably didn't know most of that, and so hopefully.
And this is unscripted. I didn't think of any of this until just now.
Right? No, sure, yeah. I mean, look,
Live TV.
I'm looking at a script over here on this other screen that tells me what to ask you because I wrote it all down. But yeah, that's cool. We fly by the seat of our pants here, plenty of times. That's great stuff because now the 3 people that are watching this are going to also know that.
Right. Well, so
Rip,
sorry, go ahead, Kip.
real quick, kind of like a last question from me, but as kind of a follow up. You're talking about people that may have donated some baked goods or things. What are some things that maybe the general public who wants to help didn't realize that they could help? What can the general public do to help you guys with these types of transactions?
So, I mean, as tacky as it is to say, monetary donations are number one because we know what we need. Kind of,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, nobody's going to pull up and start fixing our vans. So, that's helpful. Baked goods are great because seafarers really love something that shows that someone thought of them. It did something intentionally for them. That shows that they were seen. So baked goods are great. If we had a number of school kids make cards for the seafarers that when they were stuck here, so we were able to take cards out. They loved those. We will always take donations of stickers that are Baltimore or Maryland themed, magnets, that flat souvenirs because they pack easy to go home.
You think of that.
Yeah, postcards that show where they're at. We and international stamps. We will go on board with postcards, international stamps, and pens, and they can fill one out. We'll slap a stamp on and mail it for them. It's remarkable. It's such a small thing, it seems, but it means so much for them to be able to say, "I'm thinking of you" to their loved ones, and to if they can't get off the ship, if they're only here for a moment, they can at least do that, and we'll take them and mail them. Right away.
Was this supposed to be the emotional section of the podcast? Because
Mike, you're not crying,
man.
You're not crying on me, are you?
Picture, brother. I mean, I appreciate that.
No,
all those onions
you gotta have the food thing. You've got to have. Oh man, I missed it. You've got to have the food thing. I mean, you can't have somebody showing up with You can't have like 20 trash bags of muffins in a storage room somewhere. I mean, you've got to obviously.
If food comes in, we take it out right away. Mm-hmm. If it means one ship gets 5 dozen pies,
right.
that we can't store them, but there will be many a happy seafarer for those extra baked goods. We will always take it, and there are always ships in the port of Baltimore to give things to.
Very cool. Very cool. And then it's what's the website?
It is www.baltseafarers.org. BALT seafarers.org.
Awesome. And I'll put that link in. I'll put that link here on the screen too.
I could almost see it just pop up right there.
Exactly.
I'll do my Vanna White.
And then the donate button is pretty prevalent, right? If folks want to
shamelessly prevalent, yes.
Funds, whatever. Hey,
whatever it takes.
That's right.
Yep.
There's options to donate one time or have a recurring donation set up. We appreciate everything because it all goes to supporting these folks that really need it.
Yeah. So, and speaking of shameless plugs, you got a donation from the Shipwatchers from all the swag that we've been selling.
Absolutely, 25% of the stuff that you sold. Absolutely, that will go to very good use. So thank you,
awesome,
to everyone who contributed.
You are certainly welcome, my friend. Well, it's been eye opening. Um, so glad to have you on, man. So glad to have you on.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Well, we're gonna go do some other stuff. We're gonna talk about Fleet Week. You can hang out if you want, or you can drop out. Whatever
Well,
works.
I've got a 3-year-old that is pounding on the closet door. So, signing off from Hot Springs, Arkansas. This has been Reverend Josh.
See you, buddy.
All
Thanks,
right.
See you
Josh.
later.
Thank y'all. Bye.
All right, man. Bye. Well,
That was impressive. There were things that I learned in that one.
man.
So, all right, so we I guess we're gonna have to do get guest speakers. I don't know. The challenge is going to be who can we top Josh?
Yeah, man.
All right,
Somebody's gonna come in and go, I gotta follow that guy?
that's right.
Oh man.
I appreciate him taking the time to call in like that and discuss some of the things because I know that there's been some either general public comments or I wonder what's really happening with the cruise or
Yeah.
at least promote a really good service and benefit that we have here in the port of Baltimore.
Yeah, that was, man, what an eye-opening segment that was. Wow. So, transition to the next thing on our podcast. So Fleet Week is coming up.
Yep.
So the 12th through the 18th. And all kind of stuff going on. And really, this will be the only. I mean, we might get the next podcast out right at the beginning of Fleet Week, but this is really our last chance to talk about it and help promote it before it actually happens.
Right.
What do you got?
So, just a little bit of a background on what Fleet Week is. The
Mm-hmm.
Maryland Fleet Week and Flyover Baltimore is a week-long celebration, and it brings um, it brings multiple modes of transportation together. And this event honors the dedication of service members who defend our freedoms at sea and in the air, both in the past and currently. And so it offers a chance for the public to come in and board contemporary naval ships and to see sailors work up close and explore the vessels and explain what the maritime and naval life is like.
Mm,
And then also there's going to be some historical vessels that are in port, and so
right.
that you can get a chance and see what it was like before, and then what it's like today, and be able to compare those two.
Yeah,
Uh,
if I could jump in on
yeah,
that.
sure.
So, we have Historic Ships Baltimore
Mm-hmm.
organization downtown, and they have many assets. So let's run through them. So the Constellation,
Mm-hmm.
the Torsk,
Yep.
which is World War II sub, the Chesapeake lightship,
Mm-hmm.
right? So at times there might not be
Lighthouses.
lighthouses,
Yep.
so they would basically anchor a ship before they could build the lighthouse. So the Chesapeake lightship, there's a Coast Guard cutter that was
Yep.
in Pearl Harbor, and then the 7 foot and old lighthouse that was actually in the middle of the bay, kind
Mm-hmm.
of out where we talked about the Ever Forward,
Right.
grounded somewhere near there.
Mm-hmm.
And then they actually picked this thing up, cut it off, picked it up with a giant crane, and brought it to the harbor.
Yeah.
But so all those things are free
Mm-hmm.
just for this event only. So you normally, pay a small fee to help with upkeep because gosh knows there's a ton of upkeep
Yep.
on all these assets. And so for this event only for Fleet Week, all those are free.
So not only do we have our historic ships, but we also have ships and planes and others from elsewhere around the world coming in that you also are going to have the opportunity to go and visit and tour and talk with the crews.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not just the ships. There's a lot of other components to the festival. There's some maritime and aviation STEM activities and educational programs that are available to participate in.
I saw a tent like at the Inner Harbor or something,
Yep.
like
Yep.
at Light Street or yeah.
And so that you're going to have some of those activities there. And then there's also going to, along with the ship tours, there's going to be various flyovers of different aircraft. I
think the A-10s from Martin are supposed to make a visit.
Make a pass through. And so, all of these events are going to take place in a number of the different prime waterfront locations here in Baltimore. Fells Point, was it the Baltimore Peninsula, or the Under Armour Pier that's over there, and at Martin State Airport. So it's not just waterborne. There's some aviation based.
They're doing an open house at Martin State Airport.
Correct. And so the at North Locust Point, the USS Fort Lauderdale and USS Gonzales is going to be tied up. At the Inner Harbor is the there we go. There's the Fort Lauderdale, and so it's going to be at North Locust Point. In the Inner Harbor, we have the USS Marionette. There's the Gonzales on the screen there. There's the Marionette. And then out in Fells Point, you have on the Broadway Pier, you got the James Rankin, the U.S. Coast Guard ship James Rankin. Now, what's important about this ship is if you want to see the ship that sets the Francis Scott Key buoy, we talked about that in the previous podcast, historical section. That is the buoy tender that goes out to go and place that. So if you want to go, see the ship that goes and does it, it's going to be out at Fells Point.
Exactly. And I mean, I think, sometimes folks get special invitation to go on that when they set the buoy, and not many people get to see that. But you can probably go up on the ship and imagine you're setting the buoy.
There you go.
It's as close as most of us are going to get to be able to set foot on that ship. So pretty cool.
So overall, for all of the other activities, you got a map here that shows where all the different festival points of interest are going to be. So June 14th and 16th, you've got everything happening at Fells Point. The flyovers are going to happen during that time. And everything in the Inner Harbor is going to be during that time. The Martin State Airport open house is June 15th and 16th. So if you want some more information on this, go to the Maryland Fleet Week's website. It's www.mdfleetweek.org. You have all this information. This map that you see on the screen it will be there. They also have an app that you can download to your smartphones and be able to see this information, so that when you go out to visit these sites, you can use the app with the maps and the different site summaries and explanations to help you to navigate through Fleet Week. Unintended there.
Right, because I know of a couple of the ship. Well, it's the Lauderdale and the Gonzales, right, are in North Locust Point. And that's typically not an area where the public goes, right? So I don't know what the answer is, but I hope it's on the website. So how do you get there to see these really cool ships?
I would imagine that information, along with parking and access and how to get there, is all out there on their website.
Right. And I know there's an opening ceremony, which I didn't have time to write down, but I suppose that's on there too. And then, now I don't have the exact verbiage, but if you would look at Maryland Fleet Week on Facebook, there's a page, and they're constantly posting information. So you can find information there also. And whatever other socials that they might participate in.
Sounds good. You know what, Mike? my battery just died in my iPad, and so all of my show notes have gone away. So it must
Well,
be time. It must be close to
mu-
cutoff time.
must be time. So, if just remember Baltimore and Chesapeake Bay Shipwatchers Facebook group, we have like 15,000 people who are ship geeks like Kip and I are. And Balto Ches is what you look for to see us on. I got this from Amy Lawrence. She's a sports broadcaster. She
Okay.
calls it Twix.
Okay.
She calls it Twix. Instead of Twitter or X, she calls
Next,
it
it's
Twix.
Twix.
So Balto Ches on Twix, Instagram, and on YouTube, where you will see this podcast. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, and
And
then
if you want the audio versions, also we've got it up on the Spotify platform and the Apple Podcast platform.
right, plus a website full of port information, BaltimoreShipwatchers.com. So there are links there. There's links to schedules, places to go see the ships. Let's see. You can get to the podcast from there. You can get to the live stream from there. We actually have some swag. We actually have some items. We have hats, coffee cups, 5 different T-shirts, some sweatshirts that you can just order. They send them right to your house. 25% of the proceeds go to that guy
That guy
to
who's
the
here
Seafarer
before.
Center that he helps run and helps to fund everything that they do.
Great.
Yep.
All right.
All right.
That was a good one.
Yep.
I'm gonna have to go back through and listen to it again.
I don't know. It's weird. I find myself re-listening to them. I don't know why. I just
It's all good.
maybe for pointers for later.
There you
you
go.
know, like okay, don't do that again.
Right. Exactly. All right,
All
Mike.
right, peeps. Well, as we say, can we try it?
Can we
One, two,
do we need to
three.
do a countdown to make sure that we do it right? 3.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do.
Oh, sorry.
We
Go
see. We
ahead.
can't even get the
We can't
countdown
even
right.
get the countdown right.
Well, maybe episode 10. I don't know. Okay,
Maybe.
3, 2, 1. Happy ship
Happy ship
watching.
watching.
Ah, jeez. All right. Well,
We'll keep practicing.
we'll keep practicing. All
All
right.
right. Thanks,
See you all
everybody.
next week.
We'll see you next week.
Sounds good.